All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Talk Rockets, episode number 14. We're making some nice headway here, pumping out Rockets content, so be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you enjoy it. Today, we're going to be talking, we got a jam-packed schedule. We're going to be talking about a couple of different things. Dillon Brooks to the Houston Rockets, is that something we should look into? What do we do if we have the number one pick? What do we have with the number two pick? What if we fall to 3, even 4, even 5? We're going to talk also about pick number 20. I've got a prospect in mind. Then finally, should the Houston Rockets trade Jalen Green for James Harden? I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick preview of my answer. The answer is definitely a no from me, dog. But we're watching. We got people commenting on the community tab on this post. We got people commenting on our Twitter. The link to the Twitter is in the bio, or just look up Let's Talk Rockets. You can also catch us on streaming platforms like Spotify. The link to that is also down below. Guys, appreciate the love on the last live stream. We had over 1,500 viewers. And Houston Rockets, they're on their up and up. We already are fully aware of this, but without further ado, we have viewers watching from Canada. My boy, I don't want to name drop him, but my boy, we've got viewers from Galveston, Texas. So if you know where Galveston is, let me know down below. Unfortunately, I've only been to Houston about 3 times, so not quite sure exactly where that is. But follow the Twitter, keep up with the community tabs, and that's where you get your questions answered, and that is where that's basically it. So shout out to Rogo if he's still in here. Shout out to Shade. You always know we're on that gym ground. Without further ado, let's figure out how to cue up that intro, which is very generic. Nice little intro there. I appreciate all you guys tuning in live and post live. We're still here in the new place. We're on a bar stool. It's very uncomfortable, but we're working on the setup. It's a little hard to acquire chairs that are already built. Looks like we're going to have to build a chair here on our own. What's up, Rogo? It has been a while. But once again, I appreciate all you guys tuning in to Houston Rockets Daily, to Let's Talk Rockets. We're trying to make Let's Talk Rockets into like the number one streaming option for Houston Rockets content. So stay tuned all off season. Now, we'll actually start off with Dillon Brooks. My boy Gio asked me, should the Houston Rockets look into Dillon Brooks? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give it a firm no. This is a firm no. And to be honest with you, this doesn't really have anything to do actually with Dillon Brooks and like the shenanigans right now with the Memphis Grizzlies and Dillon Brooks. You have all this stuff coming out saying, Memphis, they have no interest in bringing him back, but they also offered him several contract offers in the past year or so. Then you have Dillon Brooks saying, I don't want to be with the Memphis Grizzlies because I think I'm more than a 3-and-D player. And with Memphis, I was playing only 3-and-D. There's a lot of ambiguity out there in the air right now. Regardless, Dillon Brooks is a solid basketball player. He's a great defensive player. He's a great culture piece. The whole LeBron shenanigans basically – in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think Dillon Brooks is losing. I think he's pretty much screwing himself out of at least a couple millions of dollars. But he's a nice tone setter. He's a nice culture piece. However, I don't think the Houston Rockets need to look into Dillon Brooks. First things first, his shooting percentage has fallen down. All right, he shot just 32.5% from downtown this past season. And with Houston, we want shooters. Right? We just want shooters. But even more so to that point, it's not like Dillon Brooks is going to be getting a crazy bag. I don't think he's going to be getting $20 million plus. I'm sure it will be a more reasonable contract. But I'll take a look at Houston, and I'm like, we have Jayshawn Tate. We have Tari Eason. We have Jabari Smith Jr. We have a bunch of defensive tone-setting players, even KJ Martin Jr. I would rather have Jayshawn Tate on a $7-8 million contract, which we have on right now, than Dillon Brooks getting paid double-digit $1 million. So it's just a firm no for me as far as Dillon Brooks goes. But if Houston were to actually make this deal, I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but still, I'm pretty much all set on it. So let's talk about the draft real quick. Now, I've been saying this all off season. My top 3 draft picks, as it stands, will even go top 4 draft picks. I'm going Vic. I know he's had a plethora of injuries, especially in the last 18 months or so. He's had like 3 major surgeries, 3 major injuries in the last year and a half. I like the Yao Ming comparison where it's like, all right, if Yao is playing, what did Yao play? 8 seasons in the league. Are you still going to take Yao Ming with that first pick, 20 or so years ago? Usually the answer is yes. All right. Unfortunately, didn't end up in a championship, but that's how good Yao Ming is. That's how good Victor Wembanyama is. If we have the first pick in the draft, you got to take Vic. I mean, you just have to. If you have the second round pick, I don't see a world where Brandon Miller falls to 2 and it's not Scoot Henderson. My dream scenario is almost Houston gets that second round pick because I think it would make the Kevin Porter Jr. situation or question, dilemma, whichever word you want to use for it. I think it would make it a lot more easier to be like, all right, we're going to move Kevin onto the bench as our 6th man, which every championship needs a sturdy, solid 6th man who's going to come in with your bench unit against the opposing team's bench unit and get you double-digit points, lead your offense, help set the tone, help keep that chemistry and that energy up. I think Kevin Porter Jr. is perfect for the 6-man role. Now, with that being said, if we were to fall to 3 and you lose out on Scoot and you lose out on Vic and we run another year of Kevin Porter Jr., would I be all that upset? Definitely not. Kevin is still a very young player, but Scoot, to me, he has everything. He's got that it factor. He's got that swagger. He's not afraid to take big time shots. And this is, not meant as a comparison with Kevin Porter Jr. I'm just saying Scoot Henderson, if Victor Wembanyama wasn't the number 1 rated prospect for a very long time now, Scoot Henderson would be unanimous number 1. All right, he would just be the number 1 pick. So you have to go Vic number 1. You have to go Scoot number 2. And then at pick number 3, I'm probably still going Brandon Miller. I wouldn't be upset actually if they took the overtime cat in Heyman Thompson because he's got that nice point forward. I've seen some comparisons actually to Scotty Barnes. I'm still going Brandon Miller. I know he didn't have a beautiful NCAA draft, but he still emulates exactly what teams are looking for in today's day and age as far as like 3-and-D. He's going to shoot over 45% or around 45% from the field. He's going to play some defense, and he's going to shoot over 35% from downtown. But once again, in general, Bama's offense, Bama in the NCAA tournament did not do that great. So Brandon Miller, the good side, the benefit to it was he was still playing defense. He was still trying hard. He was still hustling. He was still getting himself involved outside of the scoring stat. And that's how that's a good way to evaluate a player, evaluate a talent. It's like, all right, if their shot's not falling, are they screwed? You can use Jalen Green as an example. If they're not making their shots, are they still getting their teammates involved? Are they still making good passes? Are they getting rebounds? Are they on the defensive side? What are they doing? So to me, Brandon Miller is still the number 3 pick. And then I'm going Amen Thompson with pick number 4 if we were to fall to 4. I personally, gut feeling, I don't think actually Houston falls to past 3. If the NBA lottery, if the draft was actually rigged, I do think Houston would be guaranteed a number 1 or number 2 draft pick, but I know that's all just hearsay, that's speculation, and that's not what we're here for. But basically the point applies. I don't think Houston will be worse than a top 4 pick or even a top 3 pick. I still haven't narrowed in my 5th round selection. We're less than a month away from the NBA draft lottery. So keep that in mind for Houston Rocket fans. We have a lot to look forward to in the near future. Pretty much what is going to be going on then? The conference finals. Pretty much keep in mind, like once the conference finals are going on, it's going to be draft lottery time. And then once the NBA finals are done, it's like the draft's going to sneak up on you. Free agency is going to sneak up on you. And as we all know with summer, just before, like when you're not expecting it, before you even know it, summer's going to be over. And by that point, for NBA fans, it's NBA season, right? All right, so on the screen here, that wasn't any of the 3 or 4 players I just mentioned. This is Maxwell Lewis. All right, he's out of Pepperdine. I really like Maxwell Lewis. Last season with Pepperdine, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 47% from the field, 35% from downtown. And the reason I mentioned that is because of pick number 20. We have pick number 20. We have a top 6 guaranteed pick, and we have pick number 20, regardless of the lottery. That's outside of the lottery. So we have top 6 because of our record, and then we have the pick number 20. This year's draft is pretty, I don't want to say confusing, but it's pretty up in the air. We have to wait for these guys to go to the draft combine, and that's going to change a lot. So, honestly, whether it's on this or the NBA show or just making a basketball video or talking basketball in general, I try to steer away from, I like to do mock drafts. I actually love to do mock drafts, but especially when it comes to pick number 20, it's like, if I had to give a selection right now, I'm going to go Maxwell Lewis. There's plenty of other options out there. And, all that stuff is going to become a lot more clear here as the offseason progresses, because keep in mind, we're only in the second round of the playoffs. So a lot's going to change, especially with the NBA draft. I'm going Maxwell Lewis. Let me know what you guys are thinking about down below. And then finally, wrap up tonight's quicker than expected show. I know we have game 2, Lakers Warriors, in we got 24 minutes here. Personally, real quick, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to lock in the Golden State Warriors. I don't see a world. I get it. Even on paper, maybe the Lakers look like the better team. I don't see a world Golden State loses tonight's game. I know, especially on a Rockets podcast, that's not exactly what people want to hear, but that's, I just want to get that prediction out there. So lastly, we have a question here. I can't remember who exactly asked it on the community tab. Let me pull up the Twitter. Actually, while I have you guys here, actually, you know what? Let's just do that before we get into it. Here's Let's Talk Rockets. So, yeah, you guys have been watching Houston Rockets Daily for a while. It's still Houston Rockets Daily. We're still going to be posting videos. We're still going to be posting, everything. In fact, I actually kind of want to start clipping these podcast episodes relatively soon once the offseason picks up a little bit. But, we only have 8 followers here. The link is down below. You can also look up Let's Talk Rockets on Twitter. Keep in mind the Spotify link is also down below. We only have 4 total plays. We have 7 total followers. So shout out to all 7 of you. One of them's me. So shout out to all 6 of you. And those are the day ones. But this is gonna be something fun. We're gonna keep this pushing for quite some time now. We got my boy Chris here, the best source for Rockets news. So go check out his socials. But finally, we'll touch on Jalen Green for James Harden. I mean, this is a, God forbid, awful trade. In fact, I think most Rocket fans would agree with this statement. If it were to happen, I don't think anybody would be pleased. I think most people would actually be upset. James Harden, I know it was game 2, and in game 1, I have the stats actually probably on the second page. James Harden in the first game against the Boston Celtics without Joel Embiid, 45 points, 17 of 30 from the field. He limited turnovers nicely, shot 7 of 14 from downtown. Then we have here James Harden's second game statistics. He shot 2 of 14 from the field, 0 of 6 from downtown. Rocket fans know this. James Harden isn't Mr. Consistent in the playoffs. Regular season, especially when he was with Houston, it's a completely different story, but he's not Mr. Consistent in the playoffs. If we were to sign, maybe not this year, because I don't see how James Harden would decline his player option that's going to be worth over $40 million. Pretty sure he will be a Philadelphia 76er next season. Now, maybe at some point next year, especially if Philly gets bounced early, like if they lose the next 3 games against Boston and, we get to the trade deadline and James Harden's demanding the trade. Once again, we're all aware of how that goes. Maybe Houston gives them a lowball offer. But to me personally, I would rather give it another season, actually, of either Kevin Porter Jr. at the point guard position, get Ty Washington Jr. more involved. Ideally, we get the second pick and we draft Scoot Henderson and we see how that goes. I see a lot of people on Twitter playing around with the idea of a backcourt or just 3-guard lineup of Jalen Green, Scoot Henderson, and James Harden. That doesn't really get me going personally, because I want to win. I want to win. And I love James Harden. I don't want to pay him an absurd amount of money. That's just the bottom line. We've talked about Tyus Jones actually so much on this show before, or on this channel before, but I'm all set with James Harden in general as it stands right now. I mean, game one of Boston was pretty much like the one good playoff efficient game he's had. But even you bring in the money, you bring in his playoff experience, you bring in his age, you bring in his injury concerns, and then just to throw the icing on the cake, you give him Jalen Green. It's like, well, I'm certainly all set with that. We'll actually end the show here with some NBA 2023 free agents. I'm actually scared to share the screen here. Guys, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. We got 12 people in here. Real quick, let's take a look at what we got going on in the chat. Real Rocket fans ain't LeBron fans. He could have joined Harden and CP3 and 4 repeated. Scoot got to compete for minutes. We got to sign George Hill for the vet minimum. All right, there we go with possible free agent to take a look at. So let's go to what is this Spotrac.com. This site's kind of confusing because it brings in like Trey Jones is restricted with the San Antonio Spurs. I'd love to take a flyer on Trey Jones. I don't know if he necessarily moves the needle as opposed to Kevin Porter Jr., but all right. You have Kyrie Irving. I think he will remain with the Dallas Mavericks. You have Freddie Double V. This one's a little interesting because I know there's a lot of Rocket fans, including actually myself, that wouldn't be opposed to bringing in a Freddie Double V, my Rockford, Illinois native, on a shorter term, 3-year contract. He's only 29 years old. He's an all-star player. I actually wouldn't be upset if they bring in a guy like Freddie Double V. He's getting paid a little over $21 million this season. I don't know what his contract's going to be like. I would imagine it's probably going to be between $25 and $30 million. Don't think that's absurd. And you can kind of catch the recurring trend here. I really want Scoot so we don't have to worry about this, or so that we don't even have to think about it. In fact, if we were going to think about it, it would be like, all right, let's have Kevin Porter Jr. as our backup point guard because Scoot Henderson is now our starting point guard. And then let's go, now let's get a guy, maybe like, can Pat Bev help set that tone? Can he help set that culture for Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets? How about bringing back Dennis Schroeder? We saw him a little bit over a year ago come in for the second half of the Houston Rockets to just kind of command our offense. Trey Jones, are the Spurs going to re-sign him? How about Javon Carter? He's not old. He's not young. He's been in the league for many, many seasons, but he's only 27 and a half. He's a rotation player. He's going to be totally fine coming off of the bench. Reggie Jackson, I'm all set on. Io and Kobe White, I think, as a Bulls guy, are going to be both back with the Chicago Bulls. DSJ is way too risky of a flyer to take. Delano Banton, not quite sure what's going on there. Way too risky. Kendrick Nunn, Corey Joe Smith, Ish Smith, DJ Rocket or DJ Augustine, current Houston Rocket. If you can tell here, here's George Hill, as you were saying. The free agency class in general this year isn't very good at all. So let alone the point guards. You have Kyrie probably going back to Dallas, and then you have, I guess, Freddie. The future of the Raptors remains up in air. I still once again, I think Fred will be back as a Toronto Raptor next season, but I guess you never really know. D'Angelo Russell, I think he'll be back with the Los Angeles Lakers next season, and then you start getting into all right, well, I don't know why we'd bring back Russ. Pat Bev, I guess, would be interesting off of the bench. Dennis Schroeder would be interesting off of the bench. Clip Corleone here is saying, Dennis is dependable at point guard, and we're seeing him come off the bench right now. Unless the Lakers win a championship, I guess even if the Lakers won a championship, I get it. He fumbled the bag. What was it, like 4 years, $25 million a couple of years ago after their first round exit to the Phoenix Suns after they won the championship. I think at this point, Dennis Schroeder is looking for a starting point guard role. Sorry, I keep mumbling these words. I don't know if Houston would be his highest option, but we'd be able to pay him. We have over $60 million in cap. Is that a guy Ime Udoka is all about? Well, Dennis Schroeder plays really hard on the defensive side. I think he's going to get a payday, especially the way he's playing in the playoffs. And, the Lakers, only game one to the second round, so it's only going to continue. I wouldn't be upset if you get Dennis Schroeder as either your backup point guard or kind of a dual point guard, dual starting bench point guard with KPJ, or if KPJ is the point. Basically the point is if Dennis Schroeder comes to the Houston Rockets and he's a starter, if he's kind of a dual guy, or if he's coming off of the bench, I also wouldn't be very upset about that. We need a true big and a vet wing. But yeah, with Kevin, in the, either 1 to 6 draft pick, I guess it's not the most pressing need. I don't think Kevin's going to be the long-term point guard for Houston, so you can take that as you will. Is it pressing? Is it not pressing? It just kind of depends on who you ask. Pat Bev might be the more suitable option just because he's a great tone setter. He's 35 years old. You'd be able to get him on like a 2-year contract with a team option, as opposed to paying Dennis Schroeder like 3 to 4 years of a decent chunk of money. I'd probably lean more towards let's run it. If we were to like fall to 3 and we get Brandon Miller, right? Or not fall, if we just have the 3rd pick and we get Brandon Miller, and it's like we have Kevin, we have Jalen. Let's just run it back maybe one more season. Let's continue to get vets. Let's get a vet big. Let's get a vet wing. Let's just get some vets. Let's fill out the rest of the roster. Let's see what Ime Udoka can do. And then probably by halfway through the season, you'll realize does Kevin Porter Jr. actually have a role with Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets. He had a good season last year, so I got to give him flowers. And, I think I speak for a lot of Rock fans here. Like, we're all rooting for him. Everyone's rooting for Kevin Porter Jr. It's just we all want to win. We all want to get back to winning. Is he going to be the point guard for us to win again? So, I don't know. These are things to ask yourself. The good news is it's only May the 4th. I haven't seen Star Wars. No spoilers. We'll never probably watch it. So, spoil it all you want. I don't really care. It's just a May 4th joke. Hey, well, now we have Jay and Swaggy here in the chat. What's up to my boy Swaggy? That's it. That's it for today. Pretty jam-packed. And, we got tip-off in about 13 minutes here at Game 2, Lakers-Warriors. I'm excited for it. I'm going to sit down and probably go for a quick walk. Just made some tacos as it's Taco Thursday. And, that's it for today. Stay tuned. I'm going to be trying pumping out more videos. We've been doing pretty much live streams only for the last 4 to 6 weeks. Once again, Let's Talk Rockets is available on Twitter. We're available on streaming platforms, and we don't have many followers or listeners or views on any of it. So do that with who you will. And if not, we'll see you next time on Let's Talk Rockets. I kind of want to do this again tomorrow because I really enjoy doing these. If not, we'll try and get a video going out for you guys, probably based on something we talked about in today's video, just in video format. So, have a great rest of your night and follow the socials. We'll see you guys later.